POV, you are 23 years old. You have this quote unquote brain disorder where you struggle to get out of bed and your brain has 200 tabs open constantly. And you're trying to make something of yourself in this world because everything is stacked against you. Welcome to Young, Wired, and Unmedicated. I am Mohr. I have ADHD, and I use this podcast to talk about some of the things that go on in my life and some things that I want to focus more on or do less of, and trying to understand the brain of a person with ADHD. In this episode, we are talking about discipline. Discipline is something that people, even without ADHD, struggle with. I feel like I have mastered discipline, at least to the point of I'm able to get out of bed, get what I need done, and then I could be lazy and watch YouTube and movies for the rest of the day. So let me explain how I do it, okay? And it could be getting to the gym. It could be actually waking up in the morning. It could be putting on an outfit that makes you look put together. It could be getting homework done. It could be getting a 9-to-5 job work done. These are some of the things that when I say it takes discipline to do, it takes discipline. Like, you need that. And for people with ADHD, we have this brain function where some of the wires aren't connected. And so, when we jump around, or when we become simply distracted, or when something gives us dopamine and it derails us from what we need to get done. This is how I make a solution for all of those things. I want to say that my discipline started, I think, when I was in high school and I had to play basketball. Well, I didn't have to, but it was something that I wanted to do. And it took a lot of discipline because you had to work out. You had to try to make, the starting position. You had to deal with classwork. You had to deal with the social things, And so balancing all of that kind of got me in this thing where I needed a schedule. And that schedule led me to have this so-called discipline. Let me describe the word discipline. Let me give you the definition here. Okay. It is the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior, using punishment to correct disobedience. There's also another definition, a branch of knowledge, typically one studied in a higher education. I don't know what that. We're going to go with the first definition, okay? So the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior. Speaking of behavior, people with ADHD have behavior issues, okay? We don't really understand our behavior, and sometimes we act out, right, out of the blue because something in our brain told us to, okay? And again, we don't have that regulation, so then we get, disposed of or get, told off, things like that. When you hold yourself at a higher standard than where you are at, that creates a sense of discipline. For an example, for myself, the gym. The gym is one of the biggest ones, I feel like. Here's the thing. When you have discipline and you do it right and you pull it off, people around you can tell that you have discipline. If I go to the gym every day, I'm going to get the body that I asked for, right? That I want, the whole abs, the cut, the veins, you know? I'm going to get that if I go to the gym every day, or at least 5 days a week. If I don't have the discipline and I'm like, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it the next day, and you go to the gym like, I don't know, 2 days a week, you are going to tell the difference between someone that has discipline versus someone that doesn't. And you can see signs of it. So once you start having discipline in one area of your life, it starts to ooze over into all of the other areas of your life. That's why having discipline is so important, and especially for people with ADHD, because, you know, when you're scatterbrained and, you know, there's no schedule and there's no routine, that sense of discipline is out of the window. Okay? And I think here's the thing with discipline. You have to want to do it. You have to have this burning desire in you to literally kick yourself into gear. You have to be the one to tell you to get out of bed. You have to be the one to tell you, like, get off the TV and go to the gym. You have to put yourself back in your place, because here's the thing, nobody else is going to do it for you. Like, nobody. And, you know, when you are well put together and you're with it, you're in the gym, you're working out, your work is point, your boss says to you, I love the work, keep it up, right? All of those things you attracted by having discipline. And since you attracted all that, you are now becoming an attractive person. Leo Skepi did a whole podcast on, you know, discipline, like being ugly and discipline and things like that. So I highly recommend that podcast and that episode. But like, I totally agree that if you don't have discipline or like a desire to change something that you dislike about your life, like that kind of, like, that's kind of not attractive. Like, what, like, how am I supposed to like something that, you know, you don't even like, but you're not even going to put the effort in to change? What I've noticed with myself being a ADHD person, what I do is I set up my environment for success. Okay. I try to limit distractions as much as possible. Okay. So these distractions could be smartphones. These distractions could be, you know, cats, dogs. These distractions could be your partners, you know, whatever. It could be the room that you're in. It could be, you know, people outside, people talking too loud, all kinds of different things. So you have to set up your environment for success. Okay. And I also create visual reminders, mood boards. I have a whole Pinterest full of things that I want to be like, right? I have a whole board of what I want in the future. I have video ideas sitting up there in case I get bored and I need a video to make. Having visual reminders helps you stay on task, right? So the sticky notes, the vision boards, they all come together into a collective goal, okay? And seeing that goal makes you want it even more. That is your motivation to be disciplined. That's the whole start of discipline, is you got to have motivation to want to do it. Like I said, you got to want to do it. Nobody's coming to push you. Nobody's coming to get you off the couch. Like, you have to be the one to decide, okay, from now on, no more carbs. No more carbs. No more, you know, drinking. No more smoking. No more, you know, whatever the case may be. You have to be the one to put your foot down for yourself. Because ultimately, you are saving yourself. And don't underestimate the ability to save yourself, because you can do it if you put your mind to it. I didn't mean to rhyme there, but it just kind of happened that way. Another thing that could be helpful for you is body doubling. Okay. This is a strategy that I Googled and I think it is very helpful, because, you know, when I'm in a relationship or even friends, Not that I have any, but going to a coffee shop and having them work on something and then I'm working on something, that inspires me, motivates me even to work on what I need to work on. You know, so having that kind of accountability partner helps, right? Even at home, like when my girlfriend is doing her classwork, her master's degree, you know, her classwork, I'm doing something, my video editing, or I'm trying to sell photos, or, you know, I'm whatever. It helps having someone do something with you, right? So you're working alongside someone else, right? And it could be virtually too. You know, there's a whole bunch of like study with me videos, and, you know, so even if you don't have a partner or a friend, you know, like I was in high school, that can be very beneficial, and that can also help you do your work and get your work done. Okay. It can provide accountability and focus. Another tip that I love to use for discipline. So people with ADHD can't sit still most of the time, and because we're all over all the time, what I do to help that, and my girlfriend actually gave me this idea because she's a special education teacher. So she understands and has studied, you know, people with ADHD and the brain and how it works somewhat, as well as other disabilities. But, you know, she told me to use a timer, because breaking it up in multiple different sections is so good, because we have a very limited attention span. And when you break things up, it allows time for breaks, for fun activities, dopamine raising activities, and then it allows you to get back into it, right? And sometimes when you start that timer, after the 30 minutes or 25 minutes is up, sometimes you're hyper focused. And so you're like, okay, I don't need to take a break right now. Like, I'm hyper focused, I'm locked in. But by having that timer and be like, okay, I'm only going to have to do this for 25 minutes. Let's do it. Having that, like, I could have a break moment in the back of my head. I'm like, okay, like I can actually do this. It's actually achievable. That's kind of what I did with my big movie, my documentary that I made. I broke it up into increments and used timers, right? I would work on it for an hour. And after an hour is up, I could keep working on it, or I could take a break, or I can just stop. So having an allotted amount of time helps break the big tasks into a lot more smaller, manageable ones, okay? And that helps the discipline of doing it every day, because they're small, they're manageable, and I don't have an issue. Like, I can do it every day or for an allotted amount of time. So breaking it down and using timers can help you focus and get those breaks that you need to play around, to go exercise for a moment, to come for a walk, or, you know, watch TV, something to give you that stimulus that you need. And then to kind of coincide with that, to break tasks into smaller tasks. So like I said and mentioned, if you break it down into a smaller chunk in a day, it could be more beneficial, because it's going to be easy for you. And you're like, okay, I could do this. I could do this a little bit, you know, and especially for people with ADHD, we get really overwhelmed by really big tasks and projects. And, you know, when we take a step back and look at the whole big picture like starts zooming in on us, and we start to freak out. And so we just don't do it. We just don't deal with it. We shove it in the corner, close the door, and, you know, turn the lights off, and we're walking out. So by breaking things into smaller tasks, break it down step by step, moment by moment, minute by minute, break it down, because ultimately it will be better to manage, to understand, to work on, rather than this big, overwhelming task. Just trust me, just break it into small ones and you'll be okay. Another thing that you could possibly use or help you be more disciplined is utilize external accountability through deadlines, check-ins, and progress apps. So sometimes, people love apps and like productivity apps and, whatever, and making lists and checking them off. I like to do everything visually in front of me, physically, so that it's tangible, because somehow that works with my brain. Other people might be different and can do it on technology and get that same gratification. But for me, I need that piece of paper to scratch it off, to scribble it off, to just get it out, to check it off. Like that physicalness for me gives me that gratification, that dopamine to finish a task or whatever. And deadlines are something that helps as well. ADHD people are known for procrastinating and doing better under stress. So when we give ourselves deadlines, that creates a sense of stress so that we actually get to do it. So like having a goal. So like, okay, I want to have abs this summer. Okay, well, that's like, 3 months, 4 months away? Okay, so that's the big goal. Okay, here are going to be the small steps to get it right. Okay, we're going to do 15 minutes of ab exercises in the gym every day, including the weekends. Boom, 15 minutes, easy. You could do that 15 minutes. That's easy. That's nothing. 15 minutes every single day, abs will get you that in the summer. Break it down. Because here's the thing. Once you do it for a week, you're like, 15 minutes is fine. Then you want to push yourself even more. Be like, okay, let me do 20 minutes the week after that. Because you're going to be so set in that routine, so used to it, that you're going to want to do more. And then you're going to want to do more the next week. So it just keeps building, and then you're going to have the abs in the summer. Okay, so I'm saying, like, just, use that accountability through deadlines. Okay, you can even do check-ins too. So if you have a partner, have a friend, whatever, and you guys set, a goal or, a deadline or whatever, and you like say, okay, well, throughout the month to get those abs, we're going to have a check-in in May. Okay, we're also going to have a check-in in April. Okay, and we're going to check the progress. Okay, so having those check-ins creates those kind of deadlines, which create those kind of stress and that pressure that we need to do good work. So, and then you can track your progress. You can, make a whole grid in your notebook, write it down, scratch it out, things like that. And that could also help you stay in it, stay motivated, stay stimulated by it. This is the whole point. You just have to stay stimulated through everything. Another thing to stay disciplined and stay on task and, focusing is incorporating movement and breaks to help regulate your nervous system between, work and things that you want to get done. So I like to go for walks in the middle of the day because walks give me that energy and that brain flowing. I like to listen to music. I like to get in the mood, and it helps with focus so much. I go to the gym every day. Well, almost every day. Sometimes other weekends I take a break because I'm working and it's a lot. But I go to the gym every day in the morning. I do it in the morning because after that gym workout, that dopamine kind of stays in there for a little while, and through the day, I'm able to focus. Like, I'm not so scattered-brained. Something with working out helps people with ADHD. So if you want to walk, if you want to run, if you want to lift weights, any of that stuff will help you throughout the day. So even if you wanted to do 100 push-ups a day, do 20 minutes or do 20 in the morning, then do another 20 after breakfast, then do another 20 at your lunch break, do another 20, at dinner, so having those kinds of breaks to get you that brain juice flowing will help you ultimately. So incorporate some type of movement. Okay, something, because even right now, I'm like moving my leg to help me focus and to help that juice keep flowing so that I can make a reasonable sentence that sounds a little bit correct. Here's a big one that I use a lot. Use rewards, right? Use rewards that provide immediate dopamine. Okay, like immediate dopamine boosts. Okay, and this is after you complete a challenge or a task or a chore. Okay, I do it best through chocolate. I love chocolate. And chocolate is that immediate dopamine boost. You know, chocolate's very also good for your heart. And, you know, chocolate is something that's amazing and I would never give it up. But I also, you know, reward myself by going on TikTok or going on YouTube and watching a video. That creates instant gratification and immediate dopamine boost because we're so dopamine deprived that it's not even funny. So when we do a task and we reward ourselves, we're like, okay, well, what other task can I do next so that I can get that dopamine boost again? It creates this cycle where you're like, okay, I'm going to go do this. And then after that, I'm going to watch this. Or I'm going to go eat that. Because after that, you want that next reward. So after you eat that chocolate or whatever, you're like, okay, I want another one. Okay, well, I need to earn another one. So what else can I do so that I can earn another piece of chocolate? You know what I mean? Just don't go overboard when you're eating things and you're trying to go to the gym and things like that. Just, you know, try to figure out something. And try not to be like alcohol or drugs because that's something that's so easily addictable. Is that a word? You can get so easily addicted to it for people with ADHD because, again, you're getting that immediate dopamine boost from things that are very harmful. Okay. So don't do that. Try to get other sources of immediate dopamine. Okay, so use a reward system. That's the best thing that I use to get myself to do something. Okay, I wake up in the morning, get out of bed, I get dressed. Great. Let me have some coffee with a lot of creamer in it. That's sugar, so it's going to hit the dopamines. You know what I mean? So always stay on giving yourself dopamine after completing a task because it helps. Trust me, 100%. It gets you up and at 'em. Next thing is something I do at work. Gamify your task. Turn chores or work into challenges with like points, maybe. Okay. We love games. We love to win. We love it because it gives us that gratification. It gives us that dopamine hit if we win, right? So if we create an artificial game with ourselves, do you know how unstoppable we could be? Like, do you just think about that? Like, if this whole thing, we just make a game. Like, do you realize how much people with ADHD can run this world? Like, actually. This is something that I did at my old job. I used to work at Warby Parker, and it was selling glasses to people. So I would make a game with myself because it was the same repetitive thing. Some old person would come in, they would want glasses. You would try to upsell them on blue light and transitions, and then, and the precision progressives, whatever, and, they leave. Well, to keep it interesting and to keep a part-time job where you're making literally like $15 an hour, to keep all of that interesting, I made a game with myself. I said, okay, great. They set like already pre-made goals for you. Like, okay, today your goal is $1,200. And I'm like, okay, well, I want to play a game where I can beat that score. I'm going to make it $1,500. And so I would go and play this game with myself, and I would do better each time. I'd be a better seller, right? I would learn how to talk people into getting things. Although I did feel bad, so like I kind of just gave people what they needed because that's what I would want. Anyway, we're not getting into that. But I turned a boring work thing into a game, and that made it a lot more fun and a lot better. And then I told my coworkers about it, and then they got on the train, and then they were impressed with my work and my games, and they made a little board game. And when they made a little board game, they were like, okay, if you get, bingo, you can get a $10 gift card. And I would get bingo anytime they would give me that game, right? I almost got bingo 2 times in a row, right, in the weekend. So again, gamifying things, it gives us that pressure that we need to get going, to get us out of the loop and to actually have a challenge and go for it. Gamify your life. Boom. And the last thing that I just want to mention is, like, you don't have to feel like it to do it. Once you start something, it gets better from there, and then you're more inclined to do it again and again, because again, you got the reward system, you got the game system, you got, all of these, you got your environment, you got all of these things to set yourself up for success. So the only thing left is to just get your ass up and do it. Like, move, like, get it done. You know what I mean? Like, make it quick and distract yourself with like a music or a podcast while you're doing it, right? Like, if you have to clean the kitchen, you're like, okay, well, after I clean the kitchen, I can go on TikTok for 15 minutes, right? Well, while you clean the kitchen, you can listen to music, you can listen to a podcast, and that can kind of make you mindlessly go into this like autopilot mode where you're multitasking, right? You're listening to music, you're listening to a podcast, you're focusing on something else, but you're doing another thing, right? Perfect for people with ADHD because, again, we have 200 tabs open in our brain constantly, all the time. So, but we like it. That's the thing. We hate it because it's so unorganized, but we like it because we function well with it for some reason, except we can never go to sleep. But that's the thing. Like, you gotta find ways through it, but you have to make it fun, because nobody likes doing chores. Nobody likes doing these tasks that are boring, mundane, and just, awful to get through, but you have to make them fun. You have to, continue to switch it up, challenge yourself, do something like that to help you get through those boring tasks, and the mundane things. It is really hard for a person with ADHD, to get up out of the couch. But the thing is that when you're laying on the couch and you're thinking of a million different things, but like you're thinking of that one thing you have to do, like you have to do laundry. And, you've been thinking about it all day. It won't get done. And you'll continue to be thinking about that. It'll be another tab in your in your collection, right? You'll be thinking that for the rest of the day if you don't get up and do it then. You know what I mean? Like, it won't leave you alone. You'll always be thinking of it like, oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to do this. I have to do this. So get up and do it. And then after, give yourself a little reward. Give yourself a little piece of chocolate. You know what I mean? Give yourself whatever you like. I don't know, a donut, whatever. I don't know what you like. But anyways, that will get you up out of the couch. And ultimately, all of this will lead your progression into, again, those visual things, that vision board, that you want that little dark aesthetic Louis Vuitton, little Saint Laurent moment, with the rings and the girl and the, so all of these things can add up to it. You just have to do the small little breakdown steps. Right? Thank you all so much for tuning in, for listening to this podcast. These are some of the things that I deal with on a daily basis. These are some of the battles that I constantly have to have in my head. And these are the conversations also that I have to have with myself. And I have to get so real. If I don't do it, I will not do it, and it'll just bother me. And I'll be in a mood. I'll get angry about it. I'm like, ugh, I still have to do that. And then anger is just something that is just a trigger for people with ADHD, because we don't know how to control it. We don't know how to regulate that. So it always just turns into anger. Always. Because anger is the easiest emotion to portray, to understand. Okay? Have those conversations with yourself. Think about those things. Close out some tabs and make a little game. Make it fun. Make it rewarding. And I promise you, if you do some of these things and these steps, your discipline is going to get so much better. But again, you have to want to do it. You don't have to feel like it, but you have to want to do it. Okay, you have to want to get it done. You have to, just get up off your ass and go do it, okay? If not for you, do it for your future self, because your future self will thank you ultimately. I definitely have. My future self is thanking me right now for making this video. I didn't want to make it, but I made it. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning into this podcast, and I will see every one of you guys next Sunday when another podcast comes out. All right. Peace out. Enjoy life. Live it up.